Hi friends, welcome back to Faith and Arrow Homestead. My name is Jaylee and I don't think my husband has ever been so excited for me to film a YouTube video in the history of my channel. Now, if you are watching this video, you are likely attempting to make a lot of your family's food from scratch at home. As am I, and my sweet husband has been such a trooper because I have taken a lot of things away from him. In fact, there are 2 items that we've compromised on that he refuses to give up, and that is coffee creamer and mayonnaise. He wants his store-bought coffee creamer and mayonnaise, and I said fine. But otherwise, he has been a heck of a good sport. And I don't think that he has any Little Debbie cakes hidden anywhere in this house. I don't ever hear the hidden rustling of wrappers as he is stashed away somewhere in the house, eating something he shouldn't. He, for the most part, really lets me do all of the cooking and eats whatever I make. And doesn't put up too much of a fuss about it. However, he came up to me the other day, this was just a few days ago, and he said, "Babe, I'm hungry." And I realized in that moment, because I was in the middle of something and I couldn't drop what I was doing, I make all of his food, and there really isn't, this is an ingredients kitchen. There is not anything that he can just conveniently grab to snack on whenever he wants. And so I really think that it's only fair that if this is the lifestyle I want to implement, that I keep some homemade snacks around for him to be able to have. And so I came up with this idea with this incredibly catchy title, Homemade Snacks for Hungry Husbands, and I'm hoping that this video does really well on my channel. So I chatted with him and we came up with some ideas. I'm going to make his absolute favorite salty snack, Cheez-Its. He absolutely loves Cheez-Its, probably his favorite snack. We're gonna make oatmeal cream pies, and then we're going to make barbecue sweet potato chips and regular potato chips. I was gonna do salt and vinegar. We might still try. I don't know how I wanna season the regular potato chips yet, but that's my plan. We're gonna start with the Cheez-Its because that dough needs to chill in the fridge. And so here I have a block of cheddar cheese that I purchased, and I need 8 ounces. And so I weighed it on my scale and I had almost 10 ounces, which means I, the cook, get to have the extra. And I just wanted to show you that one of my favorite snacks are apple slices and chunks of cheese. They go so well together, and I love this snack. So I'm snacking on that while we're in the kitchen. So here I've got almost exactly 8 ounces of cheese, and I'm going to use my cheese grater to get this cheese nice and grated up. Okay, I have my shredded block of cheese in my stand mixer here, and then the recipe said 4 tablespoons or 2 ounces of room temperature butter, kind of cubed up a little bit. 2 ounces also equals 56.7 grams, so I did weigh it. And then we also need 1 teaspoon of salt, all in our stand mixer. It said to use the paddle attachment. I don't think that that's what this is. I think it's an attachment that I don't own. I'm just gonna go ahead and use this. It did say that I was reading the comments and someone said they don't have the paddle attachment, and she said to run it through a food processor, but you guys know that I also don't have a food processor. So we're just gonna go with this and see what happens, and hopefully it mixes it together for us well. And I'm just gonna throw my butter in here, kind of throughout. 1 teaspoon of salt. I'm almost out of my Redmond's real salt. So it says mix the cheddar, butter, and salt until soft and homogeneous, meaning like all one. You can't tell any of them apart. So let's go ahead and just give it a shot and see what happens. It actually did a pretty good job of mixing this together. I think that looks pretty homogeneous, like just one. You can't really tell any of the cheese apart from the butter, so that's awesome. That attachment did a good job. Next it says to add the flour. We're gonna add 120 grams or 1 cup. I am not going to, normally I'm like trying to incorporate sourdough, I'm trying to incorporate freshly milled flour. I'm not gonna do any of that today with these recipes because this is my first time making all of these, and I really just want to follow the recipes, and in the future when I'm more comfortable with them, we'll mess around with them and try to make them even healthier. All right, so this is 1 cup or 120 grams of flour. We're just gonna add this in here. It says add the flour and mix on low speed. The dough will be dry and pebbly. Whatever attachment I have here is working really, really well for this dough. It looks exactly as the recipe says. Next, it says to continue mixing and slowly add your water as it's mixing until it all comes together into one mass. So it's 2 tablespoons of ice water. So I have a bowl of water here with some ice cubes hanging out in it, getting nice and cold. We're going to turn the mixer back on. We're going to just drizzle the water in and let that come together into one mass. All right, that actually looks pretty well like what I imagine they wanted it to look like. It's nice and smooth and it comes together really well. It's not too sticky that I can't handle it. Yeah, that's nice. So far, this is really easy. If this is how easy it is to make Cheez-Its, I'm definitely going to be making these every week for this poor guy. You know what? It's exciting for me too, because although nobody needs to be eating this stuff all the time, because this is still like heavy on the carb, heavy on the cheese, like there's not a ton of nutritional value here. Oh, you know what? You could probably do a little ice cold bone broth instead of water. I mean, so I guess there are probably ways, freshly milled flour versus all-purpose. We could make these a little nutritional, but it's still a snack. But I haven't had Cheez-Its in a very long time because of the seed oils. So this is exciting for my husband, but also for me as well. Now, the reason I wanted to start with the Cheez-Its is because this dough needs to sit in the refrigerator for a little bit and chill up. It'll make it much easier to roll this out and to cut them into little Cheez-Its. And so I'm just going to get a piece of plastic wrap. Oh my gosh, look at how fun is that? That's exciting. Definitely recommend going with a sharp cheddar because the flavor of a sharp cheddar is very strong. And when you're doing something like a Cheez-It where that is the flavor, you want it to be really strong. And so I like that this is a nice bright yellow or a bright orange, strongly flavored cheese. I think it's going to be ideal for our Cheez-Its. All right, perfect. We're going to go ahead and get this in the fridge, and then we'll move on to the next recipe. We are going to move on to the oatmeal cream pies. I'm running out of time, so I think today we're just going to do the Cheez-Its and the oatmeal cream pies, and tomorrow we'll work on the chips together, which is fine. And so the first thing we need is 1 cup of butter. I purchased my butter from a local farm, and it comes like this, but 1 cup of butter weighs 226 grams. If you don't have a kitchen scale and you are really trying to enhance your kitchen skills, really broaden your horizons in that way, I recommend getting a kitchen scale. I'll link this one down below in the description. It's real affordable from Amazon, and I use this scale every single day. And I am not exaggerating when I say I use this scale every single day. It has really helped me up my game in the kitchen and feel a lot more confident that the things that I am making are going to turn out properly. So remember that 1 cup of butter is actually 2 sticks. So this looks like a lot, but I think if we were to form it together, it'd be 2 sticks. So this is 226 grams of butter that we're gonna go ahead and put in our stand mixer here. I went ahead and cleaned it out after making the Cheez-It dough. Next, we're gonna add 3/4 a cup packed brown sugar. I happen to have dark brown sugar, but light or dark, whichever one you have is fine. Then we're going to add 1/2 cup of white sugar. It says to use the paddle attachment, so again, I'm going to use this same attachment and hopefully it works. And we are creaming together the butter and the sugar, so we're going to mix this for about 3 minutes. I'm just going to set it on the speed above stir, which I think is 2. We're looking for it to be light and fluffy. It just takes a few minutes, and at this point, we're gonna go ahead and add in our eggs and vanilla. We've got 2 eggs. And then it says 1 teaspoon of vanilla. I always measure it with my heart, but with it only being a teaspoon, I am just gonna do a whoop. I'm actually gonna stir down the sides really quick, scrape down the sides. Because it's not really even mixing. There's so much on the sides. I've been doing so much cooking and baking that all of my mixing bowls are in the dishwasher. I'm going to use a glass bread pan to mix together our dry ingredients. I take a little bit of pride in that. That's good. I've been really serving my family in my kitchen. That's awesome. So we have 1.5 cups, And again, I'm just going to use all-purpose flour right now because I just want to make these at least one time. I've never made either of these recipes. I want to make them at least one time so I can get a feel for them and really understand how they work before I start fooling around with them trying to convert them into anything else. So I mostly weigh my flour these days, but sometimes if it doesn't have the weight, then I use the spoon and level. I no longer scoop. I've got a lot of new subscribers who have been watching some of my old content, and I used to just scoop, and I've gotten so many comments telling me not to do that. And I'm like, guys, that was when I was young and naive and I didn't know. I promise I don't just scoop anymore. So this is called spoon and level. It's when you spoon in your flour and then use a knife to level it out. And it helps you get a more accurate measurement, but there's nothing more accurate than measuring, like using a, there's nothing more accurate than weighing it using a scale, but a lot of recipe creators don't put the weight of the ingredients in their recipe, and this one doesn't have the weight. So oftentimes I can make a pretty good guess what I think it weighs just because I've been doing it for a while now, but in this case we're just going to spoon and level and go on about our business. We're going to do 1 teaspoon of baking soda, half a teaspoon of salt, and 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. If you are new to my channel and you have not yet met my husband, he is occasionally in videos, but they're definitely kind of skewed throughout my channel. If you've not met him yet, we will be having the hubby taste test to see if these recipes are hubby approved. So he'll be making an appearance. So I'm just going to very quickly get these dry ingredients whisked together here. And then, of course, my favorite instruction, it says to slowly mix the dry ingredients into the wet ingredients until they're incorporated. I absolutely hate this step. It's like one of the only things I hate about baking. But I understand that when you do it this way, it gives you a smoother consistency in the end. It's less lumpy. I get it. This recipe doesn't say when to add the oats. Let's see. Let me make sure I'm not mixing it. Oh, I see. Slowly add the flour mixture to the wet ingredients, mixing until just combined, add in oats, and mix until incorporated. So here's where I'm going to deviate from the recipe. This recipe calls for 3 cups of quick or old-fashioned oatmeal. So I have rolled oats that I purchased from Azure Standard. And in the picture on her website of these cookies, they have, I can see the whole oats. I don't want that, and I don't think Tom would really like it either. Oatmeal cream pies are definitely more cakey than that, and they don't really have whole oats. So what I had planned on doing when I was planning this whole video out, I think what I'm going to do is put the oats in my little Ninja blender. I think I'm going to have to do it in batches. I don't think I'm going to be able to fit them all. Here's 1.5. And I think I'm just going to give them a couple pulses. I do not want to pulverize the oats. I don't want to turn them into flour. I just want them broken up a little bit. So I'm just going to put them in here and do a couple of pulses. There are still some big pieces in there, but I think this is going to have to do because I really do not want, I still want this coarse. I don't want it fine like flour. I accidentally hit the smoothie button instead of the pulse button on this second batch, so these are, all right, let's go ahead and get these in here as well. And I'm going to go through and scrape down the sides in here. Okay, while I'm fooling with this the rest of the way, I'm going to go ahead and preheat the oven to 350 and let that get going. And then when I added those oats, they definitely did not incorporate very well. They pretty much just fell to the bottom of the bowl and wasn't getting picked up by the mixer at all. I'm excited about these, but I'm going to be honest with you, so far, these are even more complicated than the Cheez-Its, which I really thought the Cheez-Its were going to be complicated. So we'll see. I'm probably going to have more than one of these videos, these homemade snacks videos, because I'm not going to always make these same snacks. And as I come up with other snack ideas, I'll share them with you guys. And so, yeah, I'm definitely really paying attention because this has to fit in my schedule. Like, if I'm going to do this and have it be like a gift for my husband, you know, like a thoughtful gesture, like, here, honey, have some snacks. It has to be practical. And so if these recipes are too complicated, they're not going to make it into the regular rotation. And that's fine. That's not anything to feel bad about or feel any kind of way about. As the person who's doing this, it has to fit my schedule and fit into my workload. And so far, these oatmeal cream pies are kind of a pain, but we'll see. If I really love them, it might be worth it. Like, I'll tell you what, you know what's worth it? That homemade peanut butter Captain Crunch. I make it all the time. And it's a huge pain, but boy, do I love it. Ooh, I really love it. So it doesn't say that this needs to be refrigerated or anything. It just says to make large cookies, use a large cookie scoop. To make small cookies, use a small cookie scoop. Bake for 13 to 15 minutes. All right, now I have a parchment lined baking sheet here, and I'm gonna go ahead and get these cookies scooped out. I am just gonna use my cookie scoop. I don't know if this is considered big, medium, small. I don't even know where I got this cookie scoop, so I'm just gonna go for it. And I want to do it this way because I want my oatmeal cream pies to all be the same size, my cookies, because in order to put them together into the pies, they have to match each other, right? So I am going to use my cookie scoop and try to get them as similar to each other as I can. Okay, I've got my first sheet of these ready to go. I'm gonna pop them in the oven. It said 13 to 15 minutes. I'm gonna check them at 10 minutes. And if I feel like they are too tall and they've not spread at all, I'm gonna push them down with a spatula a little bit because I want them to kind of flatten out a little bit. So I only have one more batch of these that need to go in the oven. They're almost done. So I wanna go ahead and start thinking about the frosting. In the same mixer, this mixer's put in the work for me today. I have 3/4 a cup or a stick and a half of unsalted butter with the same attachment. It says to beat the butter on medium-high speed for 5 minutes. And it actually says it's gonna lighten the color of the butter and ensure that our buttercream is really fluffy. So the next step is to incorporate the powdered sugar, and we are doing 2.5 cups of sifted powdered sugar. Now at this point I want to go ahead and add in my vanilla, and we do measure vanilla for frosting because that is not a game that I want to play. If you don't measure it correctly, you often have to mess around with the sugar to liquid ratio, and I don't want to do that. So it's 1 teaspoon of vanilla and 1 tablespoon of milk. Here's my tablespoon of milk. Okay, this looks really pretty. I think we're probably good to go. A little trick for you, if everything is sticking to your attachment, just turn it on really high for like a second and it'll fling everything off of your attachment, and then you can turn it back down to the appropriate speed. I do that all the time. So this is really pretty. Let me show you. Love that. Gorgeous. Very nice consistency. I'm not convinced that this is enough frosting for all of these. But we're just gonna do what we can. All right, here's where we're at. So this batch are too crispy. I was on the phone, I didn't hear the timer go off. So these if I have leftover icing, I'm just gonna frost them on top and eat them like a regular cookie. These ones are all good to go. I have my frosting, and you wanna wait for these to cool. These front ones were my very first batch that I put in the oven, so they're relatively cool. And, you know, I don't want to have to skimp on the frosting, the icing, the filling, whatever you want to call it, because a regular oatmeal cream pie has quite a bit, and with there being 2 cookies here, I think that's going to be quite a mouthful, so I want there to be an adequate amount. So let's see, I think that looks really nice. And then you take its corresponding cookie. And there you go. You've got an oatmeal cream pie. The cookies are I did push them down with a spatula like I said I was going to. And I still think that these are pretty puffy, but not bad. I mean, it looks like an oatmeal cream pie. So here, because that's one of the full-sized ones. I've got some of these little bitty babies. Let me do one of the little ones so that I don't take one of Tom's big ones. Look at it. It's so little and cute. All right, so this is a little baby one. This is what I'm going to use for the taste test. My camera was just saying that my SD card was full, so I had to switch to another one. So as I was looking at the camera doing a taste test, I saw that the SD card was empty, so you didn't miss a reaction. So here we go. Let's do a little taste test. These are very good, absolutely delicious, but I'm not getting store-bought oatmeal cream pie, which is fine. That's okay. And I still think Tom would love to have these in the fridge, and I still think he'd love having his own snack. He'd appreciate them. I like this because I think this would actually be like one of the full size. I made this full-sized one, and then for the taste test, I made a little one because I didn't want to take one of Tom's big ones. I actually think that, especially if I use freshly milled flour in the future, I think this would fill his tummy for a little while. And if he's like hungry pre-dinner or something, I think it'd buy me a little bit of time. So I love that about these. They're very good. They're just different than store-bought oatmeal cream pies is all. It was a very good call for me to pulse the oats for a minute because this would have been way too much had it had full-size oats in there. And instead, the texture of the cookie is excellent. I would try in the future to get them even flatter. I think that's part of why I feel like they're different than store-bought. The cookie is still pretty tall. So I do think I would really try to flatten it out even more than I already did. But otherwise, I mean, it's a win. It is a win. All right, I'll get all these frosted in a minute. I want to move on to the Cheez-Its. All right, so moving on to the Cheez-Its. Now we've got our ball of dough that has been in the fridge for honestly such a long time, way more than an hour, because those dang oatmeal cream pies took a minute. And the recipe says to cut this ball in half. And then it says to roll it out. It does not say to oil your surface, to flour your surface, nothing. It just says to roll it out. So I'm going to try it and see if it needs, because it may not, like if I use flour, it may end up being detrimental to the final product. So I'm not going to use anything, and I'm just going to roll her out and see what happens. And it says to roll it really, really thin. I think it says 1/16. 1/8 or less, it says. So let's roll it as thin as we can get it. Now I'm imagining that we probably can't take too long here because the more that this warms up, the harder it's going to be to work with, I would think. In fact, you know what? I should probably put the other ball in the fridge when I'm not working with it. Now my oven is preheated to 350 from the cookies. I'm going to turn it up to 375 for this recipe. And because as soon as we've got these rolled out and cut, we're going to get them right onto a baking sheet and right in the oven. I'm just going to roll this out a little bit more. I think it's pretty close, but I'm going to roll it out just a touch more. And I don't care if these are perfect squares. I'm really trying to find recipes here that are easy. Maybe not even, they don't even have to be easy, but at least just not hard. So that, like I said, I can fit them into my schedule. So if these don't come out perfect little Cheez-It squares, I'm okay with that. And I think Tom would be okay with it too. I really do. So I'm just going to take my pizza cutter and I'm just going to run it along here and make little strips. It's getting harder to pull up now, which is okay. I'm just going to use my little metal spatula, and that will make it easier when it's time to actually lift these babies. And now I'm just going to go the other way here. And then I'm just going to use a toothpick to come through and put a little hole in each of these. So the same parchment lined baking sheet that I used for the oatmeal cream pies, I'm going to use for these, and I'm just going to try to get these up, and I'm going to pray that it's not too difficult and does not take too much of my time. But so far it's looking pretty difficult. Maybe I should wait and put the hole in them when they're on the baking sheet. Wow, yeah. So, okay, so this warms up really quickly. They're already warm and sticking to the counter. So just so you know, when you're making these, you need to act fast. And the fact that I have the other ones in the fridge, the other half of the dough, is a good call. So do that when you're making these. Any of the dough, and that should be too, any of the dough you're not actively working with should be in the fridge in between. And then me putting the hole in it a second ago was useless. It served no purpose. I'm going to have to go back through and do it again. So I'm just telling you all of these things to save you time when you do them, so that you know. Yeah, they're so ugly. The downside to this, I can already tell, is that Tom could eat all of these in 2.5 seconds. Bake for about 15 minutes or until the crackers are puffed and browning at the edges. Watch carefully as the high fat content of the crackers makes it a fine line between golden delicious and burnt. Immediately move the crackers to racks to cool. Here are our homemade Cheez-Its. They're actually super cute. I have not tasted one yet. Let's taste them together. So here's a good example. It is a little square, and you can see the little hole in it. And it's got a nice little, like, it's very airy. You definitely get that residue on your fingers. Not as crunchy. Needs to be left in the oven a little longer. But he said that. He said there's a fine line between crispy and burnt. So this next batch, I'll leave them in a couple minutes longer. But the flavor is fantastic. And I actually don't mind them being a little thick because of the butter. It's almost like we made, so if you watched my video where we tried to do the Cinnamon Toast Crunch, very similar, where it has the layers. It's almost like they're trying to turn pie crust into like these little desserts and these little snackies. But I think it is very well suited. Oh, here's a good example. You can almost see that there are different layers in there. So it's very like flaky, but the flavor is phenomenal. I do think Tom's gonna like these a lot. I personally don't think they're salty enough, but Cheez-Its do have salt on the outside, so I would maybe put these in their final container and sprinkle a little Redmond real salt and just give it a shake to put a little salt on the outside. These are dangerous. I found the solution. My sweet friend Sarah bought me this Silpat, and I rolled the dough out on here, and they don't stick at all. They come off so beautifully, because at first I was thinking, I'm just going to roll the whole thing out. I'm going to cut it with the pizza cutter, and then I'm just going to leave it and see if maybe they break apart after they're baked. But they're coming up so beautifully on here that I am just going to go ahead and separate them a little bit, and this is perfect. They're the exact thickness that I want, and they're keeping their shape beautifully. So there's hope yet for this Cheez-It experiment, because the way it was going before, there's not a chance that I would make these on a regular basis. That's way too much work. But if I can roll them out on my Silpat like this and they behave, then perhaps Handsome Tom will end up getting Cheez-Its every now and then. Now, I'm real motivated to do this in the first place, this project, because I really want Tom to feel like he has some ownership in the kitchen. I do all of the cooking and baking for this family, and so he comes in here, he doesn't even know what we have. He doesn't know where anything is, and so I thought it would be a really good idea to actually put give him his own drawer in the refrigerator. So my nickname for him is, well, Handsome Tom, but I have him in my phone as Handsome Hubby, and so I'm going to title it Handsome Hubby Snack Drawer. I went to the store today and I also purchased some of these little clementines. He really likes those. And then we have the oatmeal cream pies need to be refrigerated, actually. I don't think I've mentioned that because of the butter frosting. And so I'm going to store the clementines and the oatmeal cream pies in his little snack drawer in the fridge. And that way, when he is hungry, he can come into the kitchen and he'll know exactly where to go to hopefully find some snacks. And I will have somewhere to put the snacks as I make them. And then I'm also going to get him a little, I I don't know, some kind of little box or something for the non-refrigerated snacks. Like the Cheez-Its don't need to be refrigerated. And so I need to find something to put those things in. But for now, this will do. All right, a couple of things, and then I'm going to wrap this up for the evening. So for the cookies, we ended up having more frosting than we needed, and I had made a comment saying I didn't think there was going to be enough. There was enough. I went real skimpy on the inside of the cookies because I didn't think we'd have enough, and we did. So I just wanted to mention, if you make this exact recipe, the frosting amount is great. So don't worry about that. I went ahead. One batch of these were too crispy. I left them in for too long, and so I just frosted the tops of them, and we're just going to eat them like regular cookies. Now, this batch of Cheez-Its that just came out of the oven, I burnt them. But I was kind of doing it on purpose. I wanted to see just how far I could push it because these are not crispy enough. And so I want to find that line. So here, the smaller ones are definitely, like I ate one of these and they taste burnt. It's too burnt. The rest of these look like they're actually probably going to be really good. And so I'm thinking, these were in for a little over 20 minutes. So I'm thinking like 17, 18 minutes might be exactly what I want, but it just depends on the size, because notice these little ones are the ones that burnt. So it really just depends. I think in the future I'm going to set my timer for 15 minutes and kind of go from there and see what I think. But I'm excited about these, and now that I've figured out that my Silpat does a good job, I'm not going to roll them out on the counter, roll them out on my Silpat. It worked out great. I'm definitely going to make the Cheez-Its a regular in the rotation. And then I was talking to my mom about the oatmeal cream pies and telling her how they took so long to make. And she reminded me that recipes often take a long time when it's your first time making them. So I'm definitely going to make them again and see if I can't expedite it a little bit and fit it into my routine a little easier, because both of these recipes are really good. But we'll find out what Tom thinks when he gets home from work, because that's the ultimate test. All right, handsome Tom, I have snacks for you. So first up, I made Cheez-Its, because I know that's one of your favorite snacks. And here I have, so I was testing them out trying to figure out which, like, I guess texture is the best. So these ones are like not cooked that long, and then these ones are like crunchier. So tell me, go ahead and taste them. Tell me if you like them, which one you like more.
These are Cheez-Its?
I made Cheez-Its.
That's pretty, that tastes like a Cheez-It.
You think so?
That one does. These ones were in longer?
Yeah, I was trying to get them to be more cracker-like.
Yeah, these are good.
Do you like them either way, whether they're crispy or not?
Yep.
Oh, good. Okay. That makes me feel better.
Yeah, they definitely taste like Cheez-Its, all right.
So I said to the camera that Cheez-Its are your favorite snack. Is that true? I mean, I feel like you eat Cheez-Its a lot.
I like the white cheddar ones.
The white cheddar ones? I'll have to try that next time. And then I tried to make an oatmeal cream pie. It's not exactly like the store-bought, but tell me if you like it, if you want it in your snack drawer in the future.
An oatmeal cream pie. Pretty good.
I gave one to Dad, and he really liked it.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Oops. I know that it's not just like the store-bought ones, but is it something that you would enjoy eating?
100%.
If you went into your snack drawer, you'd be like happy to see it in there?
Yes, 100%.
Okay. So these were both wins?
Yes.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, I am just so excited that he said that he thought the Cheez-Its tasted like Cheez-Its. That is such a compliment and really makes me feel like we did a good job, because he loves Cheez-Its. So for him to say that, and Tom is very honest. If he didn't like something, or if he didn't think they tasted like Cheez-Its, he wouldn't have said that. And so I'm really excited. The oatmeal cream pies, he liked them. He didn't think they were anything like the store-bought oatmeal cream pies, but they're still delicious, and they're in his little snack drawer in there. So very exciting. We're going to go ahead and tackle these chips. I changed my mind. We're not going to do salt and vinegar because I forgot to order the vinegar powder from Amazon. You can soak your potatoes in vinegar to get that vinegar flavor, but it's very subtle. And I love salt and vinegar chips, and I want them to punch me in the face like the ones that you buy from the store. So we'll tackle that another day. So we're just going to go ahead and do the barbecue, and we're going to use the barbecue seasoning that we just put together in the homemade seasoning blends video. And that's going to be so good. So we're going to do both a sweet potato as well as a regular potato with the barbecue flavoring to see which one we like better. Tom just recently surprised me and bought me this little gadget. And it's awesome. It's a veggie slicer, 14 pieces, but this one in particular is awesome because it serves, I can actually get rid of a few different appliances because of this. It is a cheese grater, it is a dicer, and it is a slicer. And I have a mandolin slicer and I have a cheese grater. And so now I have a separate dicer. So now I have all of those things in one product right here. I'll have this tagged down in the description. It's very convenient. It comes with both a wavy slicer as well as a like a regular straight slicer, and they are 1 millimeter. So I tested it out before I showed you guys, and look they're so cool. It really does look like the wavy chips, and I think they're a little thick, but not bad. I think they're very reasonable, and we may just have to bake them for an extra second. Some of them came out real nice and thin. That one's nice and thin. So we are baking these chips. You can fry them, but we are not going to do that. I would rather not if I can help it, and so we are going to bake these. So I'm just going to go through and slice my potatoes. My mandolin slicer, although it does have the ability to adjust the thickness, which I like, there's no catch. They just fall on the counter. So I really like that this one has the holding bowl, I guess, to catch what I'm slicing. I really like that. Okay, no. So the wavy ones are really cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, they're very novel. But the straight is amazing. I cannot believe how perfect. They are perfect, and the thickness is gorgeous. So if you watch this video and decide that you want to make homemade potato chips on a regular basis, get this thing. Thank you, Tom, if you're watching this, because this thing is perfect, absolutely perfect. All right, so now what we are going to do, I've got this big strainer here, and I am just going to put them in here. Also, this one got wonky at the end and ended up giving me like straws, but I actually think that this has the potential to be really fun and like little crunchy barbecue straws. So we're just rolling with it here. We're just gonna go with it. So I'm gonna put all this in here, and we are gonna run these under cold water for a few minutes. Once you have rinsed your potatoes, you're going to go ahead and add them into a bowl of cold water. And I'm not exactly clear. It has something to do with the starches, how it like breaks them down or something like that. And doing this, rinsing them and soaking them, helps them really crisp up in the oven. I probably should have figured out exactly what that science was so I could share it with you guys. Something to do with the starch. So we're going to go ahead and soak these babies for just like 15 minutes, and then we will move on. Oh, I'm so excited. I think these are so beautiful. I mean, that is just a gorgeous thickness, so I'm really anticipating that these are going to turn out really nice. All right, our potatoes have been soaking for about 15 minutes, and now we are going to go ahead and strain them. Now, normally I would use paper towels for this, but I'm really trying to consume less paper towels. So I'm going to use some clean dish towels. And you want to try to get these as dry as possible, because the wetter they are, the harder it's going to be to get them to crisp up in the oven. And we should probably go ahead and preheat our oven to 425 degrees. All right, I actually just went ahead and separated out the regular potatoes from the sweet potatoes, and I'll just do them in 2 separate batches. I didn't want to fill my bowl up too full because I really want everything to get well coated. So we're gonna put about a splash, maybe about a tablespoon of olive oil in here, and you know what, might behoove me to use my hands in here to just make sure that these get really well coated in the olive oil. And now for flavoring your chips, of course, as you know, I'm doing barbecue, but you can do whatever you want. I was looking online to get some inspiration, and there's like garlic parmesan. If you have a ranch seasoning, you could do like a ranch chip. All sorts of different flavoring combinations out there. And so you'll just have to do whatever suits you, whatever it is you guys are looking for. The sweet potato ones could be made sweet. You could do like a cinnamon sugar and get like a sweet chip. So there are many, many different options for this. These are beautiful. They're holding up so well. I love it. All right, and then for the seasoning, I'm not going to measure it. I'm just going to... Ooh, that was a lot. Whoopsie. I'm just going to put it in here and see if I can't coat these chips in it real well. My oven is preheated to 425 degrees. So we're just going to go ahead and line these up on the parchment, and we'll see how they do on the parchment. And then you don't want them to overlap. So far, these potato chips have actually been pretty easy and not very time consuming. These are going to have to be done in several batches because I'm probably not even going to be able to fit half of these on this tray, this baking sheet. And you have to flip them halfway through. So I'm going to check them in somewhere around 10-12 minutes. And then I'm going to I probably will use my tongs to flip them over. And that's going to help you get a really uniform, well-baked chip. But that takes time. And so, I'm just calling it like it is. It's the fact of the matter. It's going to take a little bit of time. But these are looking and smelling so good that I do believe these may be worth it. I don't know if they're going to be worth it to have, because, the whole point of this is to make snacks for my hubby. I'm not sure. I don't know yet. It may be something that I make regularly and keep around, but this is certainly worth the time if I was going to serve like sandwiches for dinner, to whip up some homemade barbecue chips to go with my sandwiches. That would be really good. So we'll see. We will see. I'm just excited though, because so far we've done the Cheez-Its and the oatmeal cream pies, and this has been such a fun kitchen adventure. And it's just good to know that these things are possible in a home kitchen, and you don't have to buy them from the store if you really want to enjoy them and you really have a hankering. And I would even argue that it is an excellent habit to get into, that if you are craving something and you really want something, challenge yourself to make it instead of buy it. It's so much more rewarding and so much healthier for you too. So let's go ahead and get these in the oven. So these take about 20 to 25 minutes. So I set a timer for 10 minutes. I'm going to flip them at the 10-minute mark, put them back in for another 10 minutes. I'll check them at that second 10-minute mark, the 20-minute mark, and I'll see. Do I think they look good? Do I think they need more time? We'll go from there. They were only in for 15 minutes. That was the bottom rack. This is the top rack. So these ones are not quite so bad. But I think I'm going to put them in for 5 minutes, flip them, put them in for another 5 minutes, and then check them. These ones are fine. I'll eat these. I'm not afraid of a little burnt. That is... That's gone. That's done. Those are going in the trash. But like this is perfect. That's exactly what I'm looking for. So I guess I just need to keep a really close eye on these. Yeah, this one's probably too burnt. But let's taste one. That's good. Oh my gosh, these are so good. Wow. Okay, this is great. I've got this figured out for you guys. So what I did, I set a timer for 5 minutes. I brought them out, I flipped them, I put them back, I set another timer for 5 minutes. When that 5 minutes went off, I looked in, and a few of them had started to brown. This one had started to brown, and I think this one, yeah, this one had started to brown. This one had started to brown, and so I reached in just with my fingers and pulled those off, and then I put them back in for 2 minutes. When the 2 minutes went off, I took them right out. So all of these being brown happened within that 2 minutes. So once they turn really fast. And so this is definitely one of those things where you really need to just keep an eye on them. 12 minutes more than enough, right? Like these would not have needed to been in there not one more minute. They would have, the ones that are brown would have been burnt. But these are perfect. And I love how some of them ended up like crinkling out. They've got like kind of a crinkly edge. I think that's so fun. And yeah. Here, let's taste one of the non-burnt ones. They cool off really fast. Like this isn't hot anymore. These are so fun. Man, they taste so good. I love that barbecue seasoning. So obviously I still have to do the sweet potato ones, but I will say that I have very high hopes for the salt and vinegar ones, because if I were to purchase that vinegar powder from Amazon, you'd be able to taste it really well, because having the barbecue seasoning on those, you can taste the barbecue seasoning really well, even after it's been baked and everything. So I think the salt and vinegar ones are going to be really good. Well, you guys, I really hope that this video helps you feed your hungry husbands if you have that, or if you have like adult children or boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever the case may be. If you have somebody in your household that is adjusting to your from scratch pursuits in the kitchen, then I hope that this helps you put some yummy snacks out there for them. And I'm really excited at this idea. I'm definitely going to continue trying to find recipes that Tom enjoys, that I can whip together, probably over the weekend, and put in his handsome hubby snack drawer for him to enjoy when he feels like he needs a snack. This was a lot of fun. I like this concept a lot. Let me know down in the description what you thought, if you have any snack ideas. And then I just wanted to mention here on the back end that down in the description I will link a few other videos that I think kind of go along with this concept that could be helpful. I've got homemade home popped popcorn. I've got a video on Pop-Tarts. I've got a video on homemade cereal. It's just some other snacky type videos that kind of go along with this concept. Those will be linked down in the description. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today in the kitchen, you guys. I can't wait to see you in my next one. Have faith and keep moving forward. Bye.